If you've ever passed a funded challenge or even gotten close, and then somehow managed to lose the account anyway, I want you to hear this very clearly. It's probably not because your strategy sucks. It's probably not because you don't understand risk management. And it's definitely not because you just need more discipline. In fact, most traders who blow funded accounts are doing something much more dangerous than breaking the rules. They're trading with a belief system that literally cannot survive real pressure. And today I'm going to break down the number one mistake that causes traders to blow funded accounts, even traders who know better. This isn't a strategy problem. Here's what's interesting. If you ask most traders why they lost a funded account, they'll say things like, I revenge traded, I over leveraged, I broke my rules, I got emotional. And all of that is true, but it's also surface level. It's also symptomatic. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Rules don't get broken randomly, they get broken when beliefs collapse. Most traders think they believe in probabilities. They say things like it's a numbers game. They say things like losses don't matter. But the moment a fund account is on the line, their behavior exposes what they actually believe. And that belief is usually something like this. If I lose here, it means something about me. Behavior reveals belief. I want to be very clear about something before we go any further. This video is not about trashing prop firms. It's not about pretending funded accounts are scams. And it's not about blaming external factors. It's about psychology. Because I've seen traders with solid strategies, back-tested systems, good risk models. Still, they blow accounts in ways that make zero logical sense. Not because they're stupid, not because they're lazy, but because their belief system was never built for pressure. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why most traders never truly trade probabilistically, why funded accounts expose psychological flaws faster than anything else, and how a single belief error creates overtrading, revenge trading, and rule breaking automatically. And most importantly, I'll show you how to rebuild your belief system so your behavior doesn't fall apart the moment money gets real. This is a belief problem, not a discipline problem. Let's talk about probability. Every trader will tell you trading is a game of probabilities. Losses are just part of the system. One trade doesn't matter. But here's the question that actually matters. Do you believe that emotionally or only intellectually? When money is on the line, when pressure is at an all-time high, how do you respond? Because there's a massive difference. Intellectual belief sounds good in calm conditions. Emotional belief is what holds up. Intellectual belief sounds good in calm conditions. Emotional belief is what holds up when your P&L is red, your drawdown is creeping up, and your funded account is one bad decision away from being gone. And this is where most traders break. Funded accounts do something very specific to the trader's mind. They compress pressure. Suddenly, every loss feels heavier. Every drawdown feels personal. Every trade feels like it matters more than it should. And here's the trap. When pressure increases, your true beliefs come online. Not the beliefs that you wrote in your trading plan. Not the beliefs you repeat on Twitter. The beliefs wired into your identity. And for most traders, that belief is this. If I lose, I'm failing. That belief turns probability into a lie because the moment you need a trade to work, you are no longer trading a system. You are defending your self-image. You're not trading the market, you're protecting your identity. I'm going to explain exactly how this belief forms, why most traders never notice it, and how it silently forces you into overtrading, revenge trading, and rule violations even when you know better. Because once you see this, you won't be able to unsee it. It doesn't feel dramatic, it doesn't denounce itself, and it definitely doesn't feel like panic at first. It feels logical. It feels like, just let me tighten this up, just let me get back to even, just let me make one more clean setup, and that is exactly why it's so hard to catch. The most dangerous trades feel completely reasonable. Most traders think revenge trading looks like chaos, slamming buttons, full tilt, huge size, but real revenge trading rarely looks like that. Real revenge trading often looks like optimization. You start tweaking, slightly larger size, slightly tighter stops, slightly more frequency. In your head, it sounds responsible because the belief underneath it is, I can fix this. But here's the truth. The moment you feel that you need to fix a loss, you're no longer operating inside probability, you're trying to regain control. And control is the enemy of probabilistic thinking. This is where identity shift happens. At the start of the day, you're just a trader executing a system. After a loss, you become a trader who's down. After a second loss, you become a trader who needs a win. And the subtle identity change rewires everything. Your brain stops asking, is this part of my edge? And starts asking, how do I not let this get worse? That's when a setup becomes an A- setup. A- setups become B setups. And then suddenly you're trading things that you never never journaled as valid in the first place. Not because you're reckless, but because your identity is under threat. Your identity threat changes decision making. Funded accounts amplify this problem, like gasoline on a fire. Why? Because now your losses don't just affect P&L. They threaten your payout, your status, your proof that you can do this. And when your brain senses that kind of threat, it does what it evolved to do. It prioritizes short-term survival over long-term logic. That's why traders break rules they followed perfectly in simulation accounts. Not because funded accounts are evil, but because they expose beliefs you've never fixed. Let me say something that might sting a little. Most traders do not actually believe in probability. They repeat it, they understand it, they regurgitate it, they talk about it, but they don't trust it. Because if you truly trusted probability on a deep level, a losing trade wouldn't trigger urgency, a drawdown wouldn't trigger fear, a red day wouldn't trigger rule breaking. You'd simply execute the next trade. The emotional reaction is the proof. Your emotional reaction will show if you distrust in the edge. Overtrading isn't a greed problem, it's a discomfort problem. Your nervous system hates unresolved tension. A loss creates tension, a drawdown creates tension, and activity feels like relief. So you trade more, not to make money, but to make the discomfort go away. And that's why overtrading feels compulsive. It's not about opportunity, it's about emotional regulation. People will say just be disciplined. It doesn't work. That's why advice like just follow your rules, just be disciplined, just stick to the plan, it almost never works long term because discipline is a behavioral patch. Belief is the foundation. Discipline is the symptom. Belief is the bedrock. If your system collapses under pressure, discipline will eventually fail. Every time. Discipline fails when belief systems are broken. Here's the belief system that traders inherit and why they're almost destined to fail. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Most traders don't choose their belief system, they inherit it. From school, from jobs, from sports, from hustle culture, from social media, and almost all of those belief systems are completely incompatible with probabilistic trading. You didn't choose these beliefs, you inherited them from what you're exposed to. Think about how you were conditioned growing up. Good performance gets you a reward. Bad performance gets you a punishment. Effort should equal outcome. Mistakes mean you did something wrong. Consistency equals control. That belief system works in school, it works in jobs, it works in sports, but in trading, it's poison. Because in trading, good execution can still lose, bad execution can still win, and randomness exists even when you do everything right. Most traders say they understand this, but their nervous system doesn't. Here's where things get dangerous. When you come from a performance-based belief system, your brain makes quiet assumptions. If my results are bad, I'm bad. That's not a conscious thought, it's a reflex. So when a trade loses, it's not just a loss, it's a hit to your confidence. It's a threat to your identity. It's a signal that something is wrong with you. And now trading is no longer about execution, it's about self-validation. P&L becomes a sign of self-worth. This is why so many traders feel amazing in simulation. They fall apart when the money is real. In sim trading, your identity isn't at risk. Your self-worth isn't tied to an outcome. Your nervous system stays calm, so you execute perfectly. But funded accounts flip the switch. Now losses mean I might lose this opportunity, I might not be good enough, I might be wasting my time. And suddenly your belief system is exposed. Simulation mode didn't fix your psychology, it never tested it. There's another belief traders rarely question, the belief that money equals safety. So when a funded account is on the line, your brain isn't thinking this is just one account, it's thinking this is my chance, this proves I can do this is my way out. That's a massive emotional load to put on a single trade, and pressure like that breaks probabilistic every time. This is why traders start to resent funded account rules. They feel too restrictive, they feel too tight, they feel unrealistic. But what they're really feeling is this: these rules don't give me enough room to protect my identity. The rules aren't the enemy, they just remove your ability to emotionally escape losses. And that's terrifying for a belief system built on performance and control. Rules remove emotional escape. Here's the truth most traders never hear. You don't fail funded accounts because you lack the discipline. You fail because you're trying to trade a probabilistic system with a deterministic identity. You want certainty in a game that doesn't offer it. And until that mismatch is fixed, no strategy is going to save you. In the next section, I'm going to show you exactly how prop firm structures exploit these belief flaws, why time pressure makes everything worse, and how traders accidentally create impossible psychological conditions for themselves. This is where everything will click. Prop firm pressure will warp decision making. This is why time limits are so dangerous. Let's get something straight before we go any farther. Prop firms are not evil, they're not rigged casinos, and they're not out to get get you. But they do create psychological conditions that most traders are completely unprepared for. And when those conditions collide with the belief systems we just talked about, decision-making collapses. Pressure doesn't create flaws, it exposes them. Probability only works over a sample size. That's the whole point. Prop firm challenges introduce something subtle and dangerous: time pressure. Now it's not just execute my edge, it becomes I need results by this date. And the moment a deadline enters the equation, probability turns into urgency. Urgency turns into force, and force destroys patience. Deadlines do something specific to the brain. They compress the future. Instead of thinking I'll let this play out over 100 trades, you start thinking I need this to work now. That shift alone increases trade frequency, reduces selectivity, and increases emotional attachment to outcomes. Not because you're greedy, but because your brain is trying to optimize for survival under constraint. Deadlines turn execution into outcome focus. This is why traders start pushing setups. They tell themselves it's basically the same setup. This one should work. I don't have time to wait. Pushing setups isn't strategy drift. It's belief distortion. Because waiting feels like risk. Acting feels like control. Daily loss limits are another psychological accelerant. They create an invisible clock inside your head. Once you're down on the day, every decision becomes framed as, if this doesn't work, I'm done. That framing does two things. It increases emotional weight on each trade. It makes stopping feel like failure. So traders do the opposite of what logic says. They trade more, not less. Loss limits will increase your emotional load. This creates what I call the false urgency loop. Pressure tells you time is running out. Urgency tells you to act. Action creates mistakes. Mistakes increase pressure. And now you're no longer trading a system, you're trying to outrun a psychological spiral. If this sounds familiar, I want you to understand something. This isn't a weakness. This is human neurobiology. Your brain evolved to respond to threat urgency, not patience. Trading demands the opposite. And prop firm structures unintentionally punish anyone who hasn't rebuilt their belief system for this type of an environment. Most traders think the challenge is to control emotions. The challenge is to remove the threat to your identity. Because when identity isn't threatened, emotion settles on its own. If you remove identity threat, emotion will stabilize. So now we've identified the problem clearly. Not the strategy, not the discipline, not intelligence or lack thereof. It's a belief. Now I'm going to show you how to rebuild this probabilistic system, this belief system that actually holds up under pressure. This part is where things finally become actionable. You can rewire your beliefs so funded accounts stop controlling you. Up until now, this video might have felt uncomfortable because once you see the belief problem, you can't blame the strategy anymore. But here's the good news. Beliefs are learned, and anything learned can be unlearned and rebuilt. This section is not about motivation, and it's not about hype. It's about installing a belief system that can actually survive under real pressure. Beliefs are trainable, and here's the core principle you need to understand. You don't rise to the level of your strategy, you fall to the level of your belief system. Your beliefs don't support probabilistic execution under stress. If your beliefs don't support probabilistic execution under stress, your behavior will always betray you. So the goal is not more discipline. The goal is belief alignment. Step 1, we detach self-worth from the outcome. The first belief you must install is this: execution is my responsibility, outcome is not. That sounds simple, but most traders say it without embodying it. So here's the reframe. You're not paid to be right, you are paid to execute cleanly over a sample size. That means you will lose trades. That means you will have red days. That means you cannot put too much on the line, you cannot stake too much on any one single trade. A losing trade is not a failure, a red day is not a problem, a drawdown is not a threat. There are expected outcomes inside a probabilistic system. Execution is the success metric. Outcome is just a noise. Step 2, install a probability identity. Most traders identify as someone trying to win. That identity is very fragile. You need to become something else. You need to identify as a probabilistic operator. A probabilistic operator does not care about single trades. They do not need immediate validation. They do not rush to feel okay. Their job is to place bets according to their edge. That's it. When you adopt that identity, urgency dissipates. Step 3, let's redefine what a loss means. Losses can only hurt when you believe they shouldn't exist. So let's redefine them. A loss is not money lost. A loss is the cost of doing business in uncertainty. A loss is part of the probability. Once you accept that fully, losses stop demanding emotional resolution. And when losses don't demand resolution, Overtrading disappears. Losses are part of the cost of trading, cost of doing business, cost of participation. They're not failure. Step 4, remove the time-based identity pressure. This part is critical for funded traders. You must stop tying identity to when results happen. Not this month, not this challenge, not this account. Your edge does not expire. You're not running out of time. It is difficult when money's on the line and bills are due, but the moment you remove this time pressure from your identity, decision-making will stabilize. Step 5, trade smaller than your ego wants to. Here's a rule that actually works. Trade at a size where you genuinely do not care if the trade loses. If that size feels too small, that's your ego talk. Smaller size protects your belief integrity, allows emotional neutrality, keeps probability intact. Funded accounts are not about maximizing for speed. They're about surviving yourself. Size for neutrality, not for excitement. Step 6, build a non-negotiable execution scorecard. Stop journaling P&L as your main metric. Instead, score yourself on how well did you follow your entry rules. Did you size correctly? Did you stop trading when conditions changed? If you executed well, the day was a success, even if you lost money. This trains your nervous system to reward process, not outcome. Here's what happens when this belief system locks in. You stop forcing trades, you'll stop chasing, you'll stop panicking. Not because you're trying harder, but because there's nothing left to protect. Your identity is no longer on the line. If there's no identity threat, there's no emotional chaos. In the final section, I'm going to tie everything. Now let's recap the mistake. We'll lock in the new framework, and I'll show you how to approach funded accounts going forward without fear, urgency, or self-sabotage. The real way to trade funded accounts without blowing them. Let's bring everything together, because once you see this clearly, you can never go back to trading in the old way. The number one mistake that causes traders to blow funded accounts is not lack of discipline, it's not lack of skill, and it's not a bad strategy. It's attempting to trade a probabilistic business with a belief system built on performance control and self-worth. That mismatch will destroy traders. It'll destroy people in any endeavor. Probability attached to performance identity will lead to failure. Here's the clean reframe. A losing trader asks, how do I pass this challenge? A stable trader asks, how do I execute my edge without distortion? Passing the challenge is a byproduct. Execution is the goal. When you reverse that priority, everything will change. Here's how you should approach funded accounts correctly. Do not trade them to prove anything. Do not trade them to escape anything. Do not trade them to validate anything or anyone. Your job is to trade them as a statistical opportunity. If you pass, great. If you fail, nothing is wrong with you, and it doesn't jeopardize your income or your family or your livelihood or your identity. Nothing is wrong with you. If it happens, you reset, you refine, you continue. There's no urgency and no identity threat. Funded accounts are statistical events. Here's the moment traders stop blowing accounts. It's not when they get smarter. It's not when they find a better strategy. It's when losing stops meaning anything about them. That's it. When losses are neutral, behavior will stabilize. When behavior stabilizes, accounts will survive. This does take time, I'll be honest with you. This belief system doesn't happen overnight. You are rewiring years of conditioning in what you've been exposed to and what people have taught you and what they themselves believe. So if you catch yourself feeling urgency, feeling pressure, or feeling the need to make it work, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're now aware. Awareness is the beginning of true control. This is the final identity you want to install. I'm a trader who executes an edge over enough trades for probability to do the work. Nothing more, nothing less. No hero trades, no desperation, just execution. You just execute, you record the trades, and you outcome. You execute, you record the trades, and you repeat the process. Let's recap. Traders blow funded accounts because their identity is tied to an outcome. Their belief system collapses under this pressure. Urgency replaces probability in that situation, and it doesn't go well. The solution is not more discipline. The solution is belief alignment. The solution is a paradigm shift. Because when beliefs are correctly aligned, your behavior will follow automatically. When your perspective changes, your behavior in the situation will change too. If this video helped you see trading differently, let that be your edge. Because most traders never fix this. They keep chasing trades while repeating the same psychological cycle. You don't have to. Trade probability. Protect your identity. Let time do all the heavy lifting. Trade the system, not your self-worth. Subscribe and like below. Hit that share button. I promise I will deliver more valuable content, and we're going to do this together. I'll show you exactly how.